Hello everybody, I am Rajendra Kulkarni and you are watching my channel Programming in C with RSK. Friends, I have uploaded up till now more than 20 videos which cover various features of the C language. In all the videos I have explained the feature with theory, and also there are at least 3-4 programs which make the ideas clear. So please subscribe to my channel and like and share the videos. Now in this video I will be explaining functions with variable number of arguments in C. So up till now we have created many functions in our previous videos. In those functions we declare a prototype with fixed number of arguments. We also declare data type of every argument, and when we call those functions we have to abide by the sequence, the data type and the number of arguments when call to the function is made. If any change is there, if we want to change the sequence or if we want to change the data type or if we want to call the function with different number of arguments, the compiler throws an error. But how the functions printf and scanf are created? Because in those functions there are no fixed number of arguments, there are no fixed data types. We can pass any number of arguments to those functions and we don't have to bother about the data type of the arguments which are going to pass. But we can also create our own functions in which variable number of arguments are passed from the function call. These kind of functions are also referred as variadic functions. That is the function which accepts variable number of arguments. How to create these functions? That we will start with a small program. Two header files we are including. One is stdio.h, which is a usual file we have to include in every program, and there is another file stdarg.h. This file is mandatory when we want to create variable argument functions in our programs. This file need to be included. Now we have declared a prototype. You can see a difference in prototypes which we have seen up till now, and in this prototype return type is float, that is same as we do in every normal function. Then the function name is sum in this case. Where the change occurs? It occurs where argument part is there. Now in this function what we have done is, in this prototype into the bracket we have declared int as a fixed argument, then there is a comma, and there are 3 dots which we have to put. These dots are also called ellipses. So the prototype a bit different from what we are using up till now. One fixed argument is a must even for a variable argument function, and these 3 dots tell the compiler that the function is going to send variable arguments to its call. Then void main float result is a float type of variable we have declared. To this result we are assigning the value returned by a function sum, and into the argument part of the function, into the call, when we call the variable argument function, the first data or first argument or the first parameter should be number of arguments we intend to pass. In this function I am passing 10 number of arguments, and that is why this 10 tell the compiler that this function at this, when it is called in this fashion, 10 number of data will be passed to the function from the call. This 10 indicates 10 arguments will be passed. Then I have taken the printf, which shows us the result of this function when it is returned and collected by a result. Now same function I am using with a call of for 3 arguments. Result is equal to sum 3. The first argument is the number of optional arguments or variable arguments which we are going to use in this call of the function. Please note that there is no change in any way when we call this function. The only change is the first argument should indicate the number of optional arguments we are going to pass. So in this function we pass 10 arguments. In the same function we are using this time with 3 arguments. Now this is the function definition. In the definition also there is use of ellipses or dots. Now these are the parts VA list PTR. It is a pointer of type VA list. VA list is a macro defined in file stdarg.h. Then we use a statement. So this is a PTR. PTR is a pointer of type VA list, VA underscore list. Then VA underscore start, this statement follows, and into the bracket we write PTR, that is a VA list pointer, and A, which is a fixed argument to which the number of variable arguments from the call is assigned. So in this case, when we call with this sum is equal to result is equal to sum into the bracket 10 and these are variable arguments. When we call it with 10 arguments, A will contain 10. Then there is a loop. In the loop, what we are doing, we want to iterate this loop a number of times, where A is 10 in this case, and then we have given a statement num is equal to VA underscore ARG into the bracket PTR comma int. So what this statement tells? This statement tells that this num will be assigned with the value pointed to by this PTR, and which is going to be an int type of value. Then simple sum is equal to sum plus sum. At the end we use VA underscore end into the bracket PTR. This frees the pointer and then return sum. When I executed this program, these were the results. Result in the first call, when I sent 10 arguments, result is equal to 55. Sum of 1 to 10 is 55. In the second call, when I sent past 3 arguments, the result is 1 plus 2 plus 3 is equal to 6. So in this fashion, variable argument functions work, or we can create variable argument functions in this type of coding. Now let us see how this function works. We had a simple add, made a very simple explanation while we were going through the program. A detailed explanation. This is the prototype float sum into the bracket int comma 3 ellipses. At least one argument should be a fixed one. This is a rule. When we want to call a variable argument function, the first argument, at least one, should be a fixed argument. Its data type has to be mentioned in the prototype. 3 dots tell the compiler that the function will be called with variable number of arguments. In header file stdarg.h, 4 macros are defined, which are va underscore list, va underscore start, va underscore arg, and va underscore end, which with these 4 macros only the functions is created and executed, variable argument function. Now this is a call, result is equal to sum into the bracket 10 and then number of optional arguments. The fixed argument in this call assigns the value 10 to a, which is a first argument in the definition. This a to this 10 will be assigned to a, and which indicates that 10 variable arguments will be passed to this function. PTR is a pointer declared as of type va underscore list. Va start macro, what it does? It initializes the PTR to the first argument of the list of optional arguments. So in this call, when va underscore start into the bracket PTR comma a, when this statement will be executed, va underscore start macro will initialize PTR to first argument of the list of optional arguments. So it will the PTR will be pointing towards 1 in this function call, because from 1 our optional or variable number of arguments start. What va underscore arg into the bracket PTR comma int, what this macro does? It advances the PTR pointer PTR to the next argument in the list. Here it is with this execution of this statement, PTR is pointing toward the first argument in the list of variable arguments. va underscore arg causes PTR to point to the next argument. So when this one in the first iteration, when I is 0 and when the loop starts iterating, in the first iteration the PTR will now be pointing to 2 and in the subsequent iterations it will be advancing from 2, 3, 4 to 10, and then we are taking sum is equal to sum plus num. So whatever is the argument here is assigned to num, which is a int variable we are declared. So in every iteration num will be assigned with the value which we have passed to the function in the form of variable arguments. Then after the iteration is over, we give va underscore end into the bracket ptr. This statement causes ptr to be freed in the memory, and then we return the sum in normal way. There is one issue here. This va underscore end into the bracket ptr should also be ended with a semicolon. This semicolon is missing here. It is a overlooked. It is a oversight by me while transferring the data from previous slide to this slide. So in this way the function works. The first argument, which is always to be a fixed type of argument, it is passed to the function when function is defined into a variable declared into the function call. In this case, loop is iterated 10 number of times because a is equal to 10, and this accesses all the optional arguments when the loop ends or when the loop terminates. In every iteration of the loop, pointer points to next argument. va underscore end frees the ptr at the end of our or at that before the function terminates. Then we can also create a function, variable argument function, without indicating the number of optional arguments as we had in an earlier program. What we did in the earlier program, in every prototype we declared int as the first fixed argument, and that int, the variable of type int in the call, was collecting the number of arguments which we are going to pass to the function from the call. Now we can do away with it with a small change in the program. Now see what way I have declared the prototype now. Int is the return type, add is the function name, into the bracket char star. In earlier program we used int, here we are using char star, and then the other things remain same, comma and 3 dots. This is the function prototype. Then I have written a small statement, int xs. Xx is the int variable declared in the main, to which we are assigning the value that will be returned by this function add. And in the function, what I am doing in the call, I am mentioning the string of %d%d, and that string will be containing 5 format specifiers, as we are going to send 5 variables to this function. There we are going to pass 5 variables to this function, which is a in this call we are sending 5. If I may want to make 10 as the variable that I will have to pass to this function, I want to pass to this function. In that call, this %d will appear 10 times. In place of mentioning number of optional argument to be passed, what we have mentioned here is a string of format specifiers. Then the function, this printf statement will give us the value returned by the function through xx is equal to %d comma xx. Now this is the function definition. In function definition, what we are doing is we are collecting the string of %d's into a char star str. So whatever is the string is passed will be collected into str, and then there is a comma and 3 dots. Now what we are doing here, we are checking the string in this while loop. This while loop will run till it encounters /0, which indicates end of stream, and here we are, if str into the bracket I is equal to %, this sign, we are advancing the pointer the variable j, which was initially in 0, every time the loop executes. So in every iteration, whenever there is the occurrence of this % character, j will be advanced. So in effect, what j will be carrying when the loop ends or when the loop terminates, it indicates the count of optional arguments, because this %d number of these arguments is what the number of variables we are going to pass to the function through this call. Then it's a normal VA list PTR, VA underscore start PTR, and comma PTR comma j here. This j now indicates that there will be so much number of arguments which will be passed from the call. Then it's a simple for loop. For I is equal to 1, why we are putting 1 here, because as soon as there is a VS underscore start into the bracket PTR, when this statement is executed, PTR will start pointing to the first argument of the list of optional arguments we are going to pass. What this loop does is it adds the numbers or the values passed to this function and returns the sum back to calling function. Then the normal VA underscore end into the bracket PTR, and we are taking a printf through printf statement the value of ff in the function, and we are also taking whatever is the value returned by the function in the main. So in function ff is equal to 15, because it is addition of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and since it is returned, this value is returned through this return and into the bracket ff statement, it is getting collected into xx in the main, and the value of xx will be also 15. So in this way we can use and create variable number arguments function in C. In this program what we are going to see is variable argument returning float array. How I have declared the prototype? Float star. Now what this is doing is, it is going to this function area underscore circ. This function will be returning a float pointer. We have declared float star result as a float pointer in main, and to this float pointer we are going to assign a pointer returned by this call area underscore circ. 10 is the number of optional arguments I am going to pass. These optional arguments are 1.1, 2.2, etc. up to 10.0. So all these 10 optional arguments and one fixed argument will be passed to the function area underscore circ. Then this function returns a pointer to an array, and that pointer we dereference here for getting out its value stored in that array through this loop I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, printf star of result plus I. Then we call the function second time, but this time with 5 optional arguments, and again take out the values returned by the function through dereferencing the pointer or using indirection operator star to find out the values stored in the array which is being created in the function. How we are declared the how we are created this function? A static float array ARR is declared, which is having a dimensions of 10. Static float ARR 10. This subscript 10 indicates that this array will be having 10 float values stored in it, maximum 10. Then we have declared the PTR of type VA underscore list. Then this PTR is assigned with the address of the first variable or optional argument appearing in the call. So that value which we are sending as optional argument from the call is being assigned to a float variable num in this for loop. But what we are doing here now is we are converting whatever is the value given by VA underscore ARG into a, we are typecasting it, not converting, typecasting it to a float. And you can see VA underscore ARG into the bracket ptr and comma, instead of float I have written double, because the problem is these macros do not understand what is float. They are not created for float variables, they are created for double, which is a type of float only with higher capacity to hold bigger numbers. To this array, to every element of this array, through this I loop, as the I loop iterates, what we are going to do is pi d square by 4 area of a circle, which is calculated here with this num into 3.14, which represents the value of pi divided by 4, and then we are returning array ARR. Since we are written here into the bracket ARR, which is the name of the array, but in case of arrays, the name itself is a pointer to its 0th element. So what this is going to, this return statement is going to return pointer to the first or 0th element of this array ARR, which is getting collected here into the main by another pointer which is declared in main by the name of result. So whenever the function executes, it picks up the values of the optional arguments, do whatever is the operation on those arguments, and return the expressions or the value of the expression which is using the optional argument being sent from the call and getting collected in the function definition. So in this case, in the first call we have sent 10 values. In the second call, here result is equal to area underscore circ, circ, we are sending 5 values. That is why this 5 indicates the number of optional arguments or the number of variable argument we are going to pass to the function. And this is the screenshot when I ran this program. The first call gave me area of circle, where these 1.1, 2.2, etc. are the diameters of the circles for which I want to calculate the areas. In the second call, I am sending 11.1, 12.2, etc. are the diameters of the circles for which diameters I want to calculate I want to evaluate the area of those circles. So in the first call I get these 10 values as returned by the function, which are actually the areas of the circle. In the second call, the function is returning 5 values because I have sent only 5 number of variable arguments indicating the diameters of the circle. So in this way, variable argument functions work. Macro va underscore arg recognizes double data type, hence typecasted to float. So with this we end this today's topic. It's my humble request, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this video, like this video, and also I would like to tell you that This is the 22nd video I have uploaded. All these videos explain various features of C such as constants, variables, if else, switch, loops, pointers, functions, and many more. In my upcoming videos, I'll be discussing about recursive functions, calling convention in a function, what are the preprocessor commands in the C, pointers to a function, storage classes, numeric arrays, one dimensional, then 2D and 3D numeric arrays, array of pointers, functions returning multiple values, functions returning multiple data types. Also, we will be discussing strings, structures, files, and many more other topics which I have not mentioned here. So please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for viewing.